screen.
All right, you guys, we're just gonna have to have a tutorial some other day. So, okay. So this is the second day of the painting I started last week. And so I know for some, well, for you, Susan, that's going to be a little difficult because now we're into step 2. But if there's enough time tonight, I'll do another step 1. So what I did was, because, you know, it's a little hard for me to draw when I'm over here at an angle, I redrew everything as much as I could. And yeah. Okay, so yeah, sometimes when I've redrawn, I sort of need to work right away on the things that I changed the most, and just to make sure they're okay. And I measured all these vertical lines and they're straight in real life, but they don't look straight on the screen. So I don't know. I don't know what that's about. So I'm going to work on the barn first and the barn business. And I know I do have, you know what, the reason I have a little extra, like I think at the top, is I went clear to the top over my composition line. So really, you know, that about it, if you can see my cursor, that's about where the picture would stop. And there was a few places I didn't go out to the edge, so I added some stuff here. I drew a straight line and added some stuff because I thought maybe that was making my lines look crooked. But when you're painting and you put your stuff on your easel, it's really good to be sure things are, you know, not crooked, that your paper's not crooked on your board. Just stuff like that, because it can give you a lot of trouble later and you don't even know why. Okay, so, and I did another thing, and it seems to me that this is better. My computer had a thing turned on where it was increasing the brightness anytime I was in the dark. So, which is all the time. So I turned that off. So now I'm hoping, to me, when I look at both these things, the real thing and the picture of the thing, they look about the same. Okay, so I said I was gonna, and I sprayed the heck out of it too. So,
Jeneane, could I ask a question?
yeah, please do.
Tell me again why you went and put in the charcoal lines.
Why are there charcoal lines?
Yeah, because there weren't when you.
No, I redrew. I'm sorry. I redrew before you guys got here because I have to sit at such an angle to what I'm painting on. I just didn't think I could redraw it. So that's the redrawing right there. The best time to redraw, if you need to, is right after, right when you come back to something, when you haven't been looking at it for a while. The other things I did, you may or may not remember, I decided not to, yeah, I think that's why my roof got too little. It's so hard to make stuff up. Anyway, I decided not to do that part of the roof on the barn where the snow had slid off. I decided to just make it all the snow and not try to explain that. And then I also thought this, that really, I know that's so bad, but anyway, the other barn that's behind there, was gonna see, maybe make it just a little more standout-ish, even though that's not really true at all. And I feel like in the interest of full disclosure, I should tell you, I didn't like the pastel I picked up right then. So that's a little better. But I wanted to make that show up a little more because I don't know, I just didn't feel like it separated enough from the background. So I just wanted to make the barn just a little better. And this is pretty backwards from what I'm doing, but the thing is, I don't really have hard and fast rules about stuff. I just do whatever I think I need to do. So like the mountains, they're the least bad things going on. So I'm gonna start, I'm gonna work on this next because I want to work on the things that seem to me like they're not good. So this is the light on the that big pine tree right there. And I do see something I want to change right away in the mountains. This was supposed to be in shadow right here, and I messed that up. So I need that to be in there because I'm comparing this color to that. And it's pretty funny though, even though I'd drawn in that little snow field, I just accidentally covered the whole thing up. So I guess that's not meant to be back there. Okay, so now I'm doing exactly what I said I wasn't going to do. I'm working on the mountains. All right, so, but now I'm going back. Okay, so I put in what I felt like was the effect of the light. So yeah, I realized that that's really a green tree. But I wanted to, let's see if I can do this and not wreck things. No, that kind of wrecks things. I can't really see my pastels. So, you know, we've maybe talked about before that when you're painting, you want as much light on your supplies as you can get, so you can really see what you're doing, what you've got in your hand and stuff. But you want less light on your actual painting. That helps you paint lighter. If you have too much light on your painting, you'll paint darker than you think you are. So yeah. So a lot of light on your materials, and I think I need to figure something out with cardboard to be able to make sure I can see. Yeah, I can't really seem to get anything dark enough. Although I say this too, if you can't get stuff dark enough, maybe it means that your other stuff isn't light enough. So especially after you spray it, maybe, I seem to be having a confusing night. After you spray it, maybe the thing is come back and work on the lights first. That tree was bugging me so much. But now I can see the tree and the clouds behind, or the shadows on the mountain behind it, the shadows on the mountain are too dark. So compared to the tree. So I can't just make decisions about individual things. I have to really look at everything and see how each thing is affected by the things next to it. Okay, so I think that's better in terms of value, which is the lightness or darkness of things, but the color's not better. So I'm gonna try this over here. Yeah, I think I liked it. Of course, now what did I do with that pastel? Who even knows? Also, another really smart thing is to have a little place that you're keeping all the pastels you're using when you're painting. So you don't kind of lose track of them, of which ones you're using. I'm not very good about doing that because I always feel like, well, if I keep them in a little pile, I won't look further. And I want to be sure that I'm, you know, looking everywhere, not just accepting, just using the things I started out with. But still, it would be sort of nice to be able to find them again. Okay, so all right, so now on the mountains, I've got my lights and shadows are definitely too much the same. Although what I can say is that the areas that are in light on my hills in the distance are warmer colors, which is, of course, because the sky is a warmer color. And that the light is the sky, the sun is lighting up the lights on the hills, and then the shadows on the hills are more lit up by the sky. So because it's a clear sky, then the mountains in shadow are a little more blue compared to the mountains in the light. So I kind of I'm wondering now, like I redrew this, I think yesterday I did it just in case I didn't have time today. And now I'm kind of feeling like, oh, now I can't remember exactly what the heck was going on. So maybe it would have been better if I'd redrawn it yesterday. I mean, today, right now, before I started. Okay, so I feel like my sky needs to be stronger. So I have sprayed this with the fixative, so you can see how I can just go right back over it and it's not blending into the other colors at all. Some places that works better than others. Like I felt like I was already having trouble down here, even though I just sprayed that just as much as I did that. So some colors just seem to not, I don't know, not, the fixative doesn't make them as hard as surfaces. And the other thing is, like, I know I really should try to work toward a finish, but in all my paintings, almost always, I lay it in 2 times, which means that I do just what I'm doing. I keep it in really big, big blocks of color. And then I try to make those big blocks better before I start breaking it down into smaller things. So the first job, oh, look at that. That's not, is that all of it? No, it's not all of it. Why is it not all of it? Wait a sec. See, if I go back too far, then you can see the weird perspective, which I can, but maybe that won't bother you so much, but okay. I don't know. If it bothers you, Fran will let me know. God, what was I saying? Yeah, so so the first thing you want to do is you want to mass in your areas. At least this is what I think. You want to mass in the areas of light and dark and all the colors. And then what you want to do is you're going to come back and, like in this case, really spraying it almost makes it like I started over. So because the spray made all my colors darker, so now I really need to bring out my lights. And so now the more I think about it, the more I think it was a little mistake to try to start on the trees first. But you know, live and learn. The only way you learn is by doing things you don't like. It's pretty hard to learn anything from doing stuff you like in a painting. All right, let's see what can we do back here. But I really do want to get down there and work on those trees, because that, boy, some of you guys that painted this picture just did an incredible job on it. And this area kind of is what Molly and I were talking about before. Like when I started this, Molly, I just, like, my whole attraction to this scene was that this was going to be really lit up. And so I wanted that to really glow. And so I started it really light. And then I had to go back into it and start putting those the little darks in between. Oh, maybe that's, no, I don't know. I can't figure this out. Oh, now you see me stretching my neck out, squinting and going, what? Okay. But I was trying to make this feeling of this shadow right through here. So this is the shadow. And what I really loved was this business. So I just started it with this bright orange, and then I had to go in and make it darker again. So I still kind of feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And although that's a very kind of an awkward way to feel, I don't think it's totally bad to feel like you don't know what you're doing. I think, in fact, that's something to be happy about, that you don't know what you're doing. Because the minute you think you know what you're doing, then you don't learn anything more from painting. And to me, I guess the part of the purpose of painting is to learn more about the world and to become better at seeing things. So look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, put another one in there. So you see, it's very hard to, yeah, so I think that's the purpose of painting. And I think that the only bad painting is painting you don't learn something from. So that makes life in a lot of ways quite a bit easier, because a bad painting is not a painting that looks terrible. It's a painting you didn't learn anything from. So a painting can look really, really good, but maybe you didn't learn anything from it. And, you know, my favorite example of that is, well, let's see, Bob Ross, I guess, because he and anybody that paints a formula, you know, so they have their way, they paint trees every time. And then there's that other guy. Oh, I think of another.
Jeneane, this is kind of silly, but could you pull some of the hair that's on the left side of your face back a little so we don't have to see through it?
Okay,
Wispy stuff. Thank
thank
you.
you. No, I didn't know I was sneaking over there. I kind of moved my pastels over into the light better, and so then I kind of followed along with them.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, sorry, as long as it's not me. I'm like, no, why do I have an alarm set? And that's my alarm too, by the CE. Okay, so I'm just still trying to figure out how to do the trees, you know? So it's not like, I mean, I do know what I'm doing, and sometimes I kind of wish I didn't, but every painting I do is sort of, it's also a whole new thing. And if I starts to feel like it's not a whole new thing, like right now I have 13 of these beach scenes almost finished. And, you know, if it starts to feel like I'm just sort of copying what I did before, then I'll quit doing them. So that's kind of the other things I quit doing in painting. It's been because of that, because I wasn't learning enough anymore. Unfortunately, the minute I get kind of good at something, I get bored with it. So then I have to move on. So I was watching Antique Roadshow, I guess last Monday maybe, or sometime, and they had a drawing by Nikolai Feshin. And he's a guy, he moved here from Russia during the Bolshevik Revolution. And he lived in New York City for a while. And then he moved out to Santa Fe, to Taos, I mean, yeah, I think it was Taos. And he became really famous as a Western painter. He did a lot of Native Americans, and his portraits are really amazing. And his portraits in charcoal are always done on this rice paper. Anyway, they're really amazing. I would recommend looking them up. But oh, what is the point of, oh yes. Okay, so I think I still have the book that was written about him. And in that book, there was an essay he wrote about being a teacher, because he was also an art teacher. And in there, he said, he had this little, one of his quotes was, "I wish God could deliver me from the talented student." And I always really appreciated that, because as some of you probably remember, you've heard all my stories a million times, but my teacher said that I wasn't very talented, but at least I worked really hard. So when I heard that from Feshin, you know, that Feshin had said this thing about talented students, he really didn't enjoy having so-called talented students in his class. So yeah, so just remember, talent maybe is, my teacher used to say talent was the desire to do something, not the ability particularly.
What was his name? What?
The guy in New Mexico?
No, the guy you were quoting.
It's Nikolai Feshin, so F-E-C-H-I-N. I can send it to you next time too.
I got it.
You found it? Okay. Yeah, so another thing was, it seemed like, and I was gonna see if I could do it better. It seemed like some people had trouble with these looking too much like a thing here, a thing here, and a thing here. So I just wanted to see maybe if I could kind of make that integrated more. So far, not yet, but I'm gonna try. And one thing I usually do in my work is I keep sort of the shadows kind of hang together. So I don't make as much stuff going on in the shadows. And one reason for that is that in the shadows, not only are they darker than the lights, but also you can't see as much detail in them. So, so that makes sense. And in painting, what painters say is that you load the lights and you make the shadows thin. And so that's also true in pastels. You can put a ton of strokes and stuff in your lights and then leave your shadows a little less strokey, a little less textured. And I've kind of avoided painting winter scenes because I just hate trying to do the trees and stuff. The trees that are bare like this, I just find it really hard, and I don't quite know how to handle it. I feel like there's sort of this thing going on. It's almost a fuzz going on, like a painting that's really great, and I can't remember the painter's name, but it's one of the it's the Boston Common in winter, and the sun is setting behind the trees. And I'll have to find that too for you. But it one thing that's really nice about it is you can really see this sense that the trees, it's not like he's painting every tree trunk or something. He's painting some, but then he's suggesting it more like there's this little blur for the top, and then some trees are actually painted in more. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I pulled some of the green behind in here. I kind of made this shadow the same all the way across, even though there are kind of different kinds of trees. And then I'm trying to use some of these russet colors over here, although that can't stay like it is. I have been using more gray. And I did get out, I don't know if I showed them to you, but I did get out because the fall is really quite long here. I was able to get out and paint some things where most of the leaves were off the trees. That's not the right color. Try this.
But Jeneane,
Yeah,
what you were just saying about trees and that you didn't like painting winter scenes because trees are so difficult, isn't that all the more reason that we should be painting trees?
yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. I was hoping no one would catch that. Yeah, no, that's really true. And I kind of have this, this little thing that if I'm out getting ready to set up and paint something and something seems too hard for me, then I have to try it. And you know what? I haven't been doing that as much lately. So it'd be good to get back into that. I hate that this was kind of one of my favorite things in the painting and now it's not anymore. But it hasn't been since I sprayed it. So. All right, I don't know how I'm ever gonna make these trees look okay. Well, these trees. So same thing, I've got, oh yeah, and the snow. People were asking about the snow. But you'll see some people did a great job on their snow. One thing that's kind of nice when you spray it, oh, sorry.
Your camera is sneaking in a little bit on the painting.
Like that, or?
Better.
Okay, well, it's so crooked that I guess you'll just have to, I just don't know. Oh, I see what. went
We can
wrong.
handle it crooked.
Okay. All right, I just won't look over there.
That's good.
Does anybody know what I was getting ready to say? What I'm doing?
You were,
Oh, snow.
you were talking about the snow.
Yeah. Okay, well, so one really great thing about spraying is, can you see how I'm just able to drag my color over and keep that paint coming through? But, and that's the beauty, I think, of the spray. One of them is it does a bunch of things for me. It makes it darker, which is good because darks are a little bit of a problem in pastels. And it also allows me to do this really airy thing. And what is always just really depressing is when I lose my airy thing and then I have to I have to spray it again and do it again. So like here, I deliberately used a much less aggressive stroke than I did. And another thing, like the trees, always just this problem of getting things too equally spaced. I just find that it's very difficult to think about everything at once. So if I were to get all these, too much the same, then I would still come back and mess them up later, get rid of this feeling of them all being so much the same. But it's just almost impossible for me anyway to do that when I just can't think about everything at once. So this is kind of what you were asking about, Molly. I mean, it's really little over here, but just coming back and forth, putting the color down in between little doodahs, and then maybe restating your little thingies. Or one thing you want to be sure always at trees and everything, things that are in water, you want to be sure that these things feel like they're down in the snow and not like on top of it, or sitting on top of the water. Things have to feel like they're in the water. And I really loved some people's, their snow was just so undulating, and I thought that looked really good. And I'm sorry about the roof over there. I just can't, it's just so awkward at that point to turn my hand that way. No, I like this even more. Also, I just do everything that crosses my mind. So like if I say to myself, oh, would I like that more if it was lit up? Well, then I try it, because so what? I can just change it. And there's a lot of times people, if you get to a point in your painting where you are afraid to take risk, then you probably just need to start a new painting, basically, is what that means. And for windows and stuff, like, I draw them in first with my charcoal. This is great because none of these are the same. That thing where you have to try to make them all look, every last one of them is kind of different. You can see the mistakes I made, which is why you want to do this in charcoal, because it's easy to cover it up if it's not quite where you meant for it to be. And usually what I do is like, I'll do them like that. And if I'm going to make, it's not too successful if you leave charcoal right on the surface of your painting like that. So I'm just going to add a little dark to them now that I know where they are. And you can see they're just completely sort of out of control. And so then if I'm going to come back and put the little white things around them, and come back and do that. And then, oh, so those are out of control too. I didn't quite get them right. So then I'd come back with the red or the purple or whatever this is.
So Jeneane, why do you not want to leave charcoal as a surface color?
Well, for a big area, it falls off more. I had a horrible experience once where I used my charcoal, like, okay, so here, like if I'm just doing this, let's just say I decided I wanted these fake fence posts. So that's not so bad, but if I took my charcoal and I created this whole dark and I didn't cover it again with the pastels, that I did that one time and all that charcoal fell off on the mat. This was a really long time ago and I never did it again, but yeah, so.
Even
that's
if
why
you
I don't-
spray, even if you spray over it?
Yeah, I did spray it. Say this is back when I was in my 20s, but it was a horrific experience because the mat was ruined. And so sometimes just putting in like little bits of fence or something kind of, it's like it creates a realism in a way where like how do you make your paintings look realistic but not like too tight? And one way is to put in a few things that are pretty realistic and then leave other things less so. I had forgotten about that one until just this minute. So now I have to think about it some more. Okay, so and here I do want to get rid of those charcoal lines. I'm just going to do that. That's the last thing I'm going to do. If I wanted to outline things, I would probably use a color to outline, not the charcoal. And I'm just not sure. I'm just gonna So here I'm kind of trying to knock that down, but it didn't really work. And sometimes like here, I use the same color here as here. And sometimes that's just fine because I'm putting it on top of another color. This is actually gray. Become kind of fond of my grays lately. So like, just for example, maybe. Don't draw with my pastels because you can just get yourself into some situations that you can't get out of. That you've drawn something and then you can't cover it up, and that's like a bummer. Okay, so this comes here. But you could use them to outline things if you wanted to. So if you wanted your mountains to have this like a, one time I was at Basin Harbor and it was really bizarre, but the mountains had this kind of outline. I just want to show you just so you can. And so I just thought it looked great. I mean, it doesn't here because it's not real, but wow, that was an amazing. First, do I have that painting? No. Do I have a photograph of that painting? No.
Oh dear.
Oh no, it's pathetic. And what did I do right before I moved to Rhode Island? I threw away all my slides. Like, what is wrong with me? Someone can answer that.
Whoa, that's a bad move.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say that's okay. All right,
Jeneane,
so
I
you
have a
have
question.
what?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You said that one of the main things that you loved about this photograph was the diagonal shadow.
Yeah, I know.
And why is it not diagonal?
That's a really excellent question. I don't know. It just kind of keeps getting lost. Also, I wasn't sure if, I mean, it really is. It's such a strong diagonal, but I just can't seem to.
But even that's better.
Okay.
I mean, it's more diagonal.
So, you know, I just want to make it clear that this would not, I would not consider this a finished painting. And it would, you know, take more time. It would take at least as much time as
I just had one question on that.
Mhm.
That back mountain on the left, is that still charcoal or is that a color you added? The big mountain on the left?
Up here,
No, on the other.
here. Oh,
The other
yeah,
left.
that's still
That-
charcoal. Yes, it is. It's still charcoal. And that is not, but boy, that was dark. And sometimes like if you get something that's too outliney, you can, oops, you can just kind of pull the color in more. And sometimes there really are kind of things like that. And I could even, probably not right there, but I could have decided to maybe, this might have made more sense, is to darken this right here.
Yeah.
And then I just.
Okay, thank you.
Get rid of this now.
I love the part at the lower right or your lower left. That field
Side or
looking,
the other side?
where the fence, where you were talking
Oh.
about adding the fence, that even if it's not necessarily there.